Let's talk about the Capstone Project. Just the name itself can make students and even teachers a little nervous, right? But what if we could flip the script? What if that final massive project wasn't a stressful hurdle, but an actual triumphant victory lap? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into.
Think about it for a second. You're on final projects. Was it this amazing moment where everything you learned just clicked into place? Or was it, a caffeine-fueled frenzy to just get it done? For a lot of people, it's definitely the second one. The capstone can feel like this giant, isolated mountain you have to climb at the very end. But here's the thing, it really doesn't have to be that way at all.
So, what's the core problem here? Well, a lot of the time, it's a feeling of being totally disconnected. Students spend years learning things in separate classes, and then bam, we ask them to suddenly create this huge, complex project that pulls from everything. It's no wonder it causes so much anxiety. The solution, then, isn't just a small tweak. It's a whole new way of looking at things. We need to stop thinking about skills as a checklist of boxes and start seeing them as a spiral. It's this idea that you introduce a concept, you practice it, and then you come back to it again and again, each time in a more complex and meaningful way. And the engine that powers this whole spiral? It's something called the 3 I's framework: immersion, investigation, and integration. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful process for research and inquiry, and it becomes the foundational building block for this entire journey. So here's how that spiral actually works. First, students just learn the 3 I's process. Simple enough. Next, maybe in a research class, they apply that process to a real-world problem. And then finally, for the capstone, they use that very same process to create a real solution. All of a sudden, the capstone isn't some new terrifying thing. It's just the natural, logical next step in a journey they've been on for years. Okay, so that's the big picture philosophy. But what does it actually look like from a curriculum design standpoint? How do you plan out a student's entire academic path so it leads to this amazing victory lap? Well, you start with a map. To really make this concrete, we're going to follow a hypothetical student. And their long-term project is something we'll call Project Kalakasan. That means Project Nature, and it's all about community waste management. This is going to be our story, our anchor through this whole thing. Check this out. This table lays out the entire journey. In grade 7, our student is just doing a basic study on their household waste. Simple. But by grade 11, they're out in the community, interviewing people about how they segregate their trash. Then they're doing qualitative research, actually measuring the link between awareness and action. You see? Every single step gives them another piece of the puzzle. So by the time they hit the grade 12 capstone, they are absolutely not starting from scratch. They're using their own previous research to design a real solution, maybe a new kind of compost bin or even an app. That's the power of this integrated approach. So, we have the map, that big bird's eye view. But what about when you're actually in the classroom? What do teachers and students actually do during the capstone project itself? Well, that's where the playbook comes in. It's a practical guide that uses that same familiar 3 I structure. We kick things off with stage 1, immersion. You can think of this as the why and discovery phase. It's all about digging deep into a problem, using research skills to really understand it and the people who are affected by it. And here's the first really crucial shift in mindset. In a regular project, the goal of immersion is just to understand the context. But in the capstone, your focus is so much sharper. You're actively on the hunt for a problem that is truly worth solving with a real, tangible thing. The activities here are hands-on. You're conducting interviews, you're sending out surveys, and what you get out of it are 2 key things: a laser-focused problem statement and a review of related literature, which, as we just saw, should absolutely include the student's own prior research. Okay, on to stage 2, investigation. If immersion was the why, then investigation is all about the how. This is where we stop just understanding the problem and start actively creating a solution. This is the fun, hands-on building part. And again, notice the evolution here. A traditional investigation is about gathering data about the problem. The capstone investigation, this is where you get to work. It's about researching, designing, prototyping, and testing actual solutions to that problem. This is the core build stage of the project. So the activities are super dynamic. You're researching what's already out there, you're designing something new, you're building a prototype, whether it's a physical model, an app wireframe, a business plan, you name it, and then you test it. The big deliverables here are the tangible prototype itself and a detailed methodology that explains exactly how you built and tested it.
And finally, we arrive at stage 3, integration. This is the so what phase. This is where you bring the entire story together, the problem, the research, the solution, and you communicate why it all matters. What's the potential impact?
Now, this is way more than just a summary. A normal project might end with a simple conclusion. But a capstone integration is a persuasive argument. The student has to stand up, showcase their solution, and make a compelling case for why it's important and the kind of impact it could really have.
This all leads to 3 huge final outputs that really show off all their work. The final, comprehensive capstone paper, the finished, polished product itself, and a dynamic presentation or demo. Think of it like a product launch or a business pitch, where they really bring their solution to life for an audience.
So when you weave this all together, from grade 7 all the way to the final presentation, what's the real impact? Well, the benefits are clear, they're profound, and honestly, they're pretty transformative for everyone involved.
I mean, look at the payoff. Student anxiety just plummets because the capstone isn't a mystery anymore. It's just the next logical step. They build these deep, transferable skills because they see how research and creation actually connect. Engagement shoots through the roof because they're working on something they genuinely care about over a long period of time. And of course, the quality of the final work is just so much higher because it's built on this solid foundation of their own inquiry.
By framing the capstone as the peak of this learning spiral, we do more than just assign a project. We actually empower our students to become creators, problem solvers, and storytellers. We've given them a map for their journey and a playbook to make their vision a reality. So the real final question is, how will you help your students tell their story?